What's up is Way Up with Angela Yee, and what an honor today to have Royal Ramey here with me. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Forestry and Fire Recruitment Program. We see the shirt.
Yeah, a little something, you know.
But your journey to get to starting this and this whole mission has been amazing. So for people who maybe haven't seen you on TV already, seen your TED Talk, I would love for you to just break down how you even co-founded this program.
Yeah, so I don't know if folks know that California has been utilizing incarcerated people to fight wildfires since the 1940s. So it's been a massive personnel shortage in wildland firefighting since then. And, you know, folks get paid $1 an hour to do the work, right? Up until the last month, a couple of bills have been passed where they can be able to get $7.25 to be able to fight fires for, you know, for that $7.25 an hour. Mm-hmm. And so my story, I was, you know, young, dumb, and made some poor choices in life, and I ended up getting sentenced to 6 years in prison. And out of that time, I did 4 years, 8 months. And from there, the last 20 months of my sentence, I actually went to fire camp.
And did that help you get out earlier going?
It didn't.
Oh, it didn't?
For me, it didn't. It didn't because of my crime and stuff, what I committed. Ended up robbing a drug dealer. Thought it was easy money, but, you know.
You're like, they're not going to call the police.
Right. So did that, and then I end up, you know, serving that time, and it was like 85%. So, like, I had to do the time.
Okay.
And but I fell in love with wildland firefighting while I was there, but it just didn't make sense to, you know, for me to gain that knowledge, skills, and abilities to do it, and not being able to, you know, pursue it as a career once I come home. So when I was in camp, you know, I was like, you know, talking to people, I'm like, hey, you know, is it doable, right? And it was like, well, you got a felony, so if you have a felony, you can't become a firefighter.
That's,
you know?
wild.
Right?
But I could do it while I was incarcerated.
Right.
But then when I come home, I can't do what I was doing.
Right. So that didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. So me and my co-founder, Brandon Smith, we was in there, we was talking about it, and I was like, look, once we figure this out, we want to start a nonprofit organization to help people. And luckily, once I came home, ended up receiving like 24 certifications, finishing my EMT course, and then I ended up getting hired with Cal Fire, the state's fire department. And from there, that's when we knew we had something special. And, you know, to date, we have helped over 300 people get jobs in the fire service since 2018.
Now, I want to back up a little to these fire camps, right? So this is an opportunity that they're like, hey, you can do this. And what made you decide that was an opportunity that you wanted to take? Because that is also putting your life on the line, too.
Right. Honestly, it was a couple of things. So first, you know, my mama, right, she was like, look, whenever you be able to get back home from Mississippi, so they shipped me out. So around that time,
there was overcrowding.
It was
in the
overcrowded,
jail.
right? So I went from California to Arizona to Mississippi, and my mom was like, you know, whenever you get an opportunity to come back, I need you to come home. I haven't seen you for years. So that was one of the pieces. And then when they offered me that, I'm like, okay, you know, trying to figure out like, what is fire camp? You know, it sounded cool, but I didn't really know. So when they was like, you got 24 hours to decide. So when I went back to the dorm, they was like, you know, fire camp is dope. You know, you get good food, you got weights, you got all these different things. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is something I should be able to do. And plus my mom, I wanted to see my family. Man, when I got there, I'm like, I didn't know I was going to be carrying this pack. I didn't know I was going to have this tool, these boots. You know, I traded my Jordans for these boots. And
wow.
You know, I'm on these blazing, these fires. I'm like, this is crazy, right? But then, you know, I was doing some self-healing while I was in prison and really educating myself and putting myself in a position where I wanted to change the way I thought and really embrace my emotional intelligence, right? And just like really deep dive, you know, into myself and like, look, I don't want to go to, you know, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I see so many OGs that was in there. It's like, look, Roy, like you're not that guy. You're not built like this, man. You too smart, you too talented to be in prison. And you know, just trying to figure out my passion, and I just embrace it and I love it. It was the most mentally, physically, emotionally challenging thing that I've ever done in my life. But
wow, I can imagine, because that's not an easy job. Period. So during these fire camps, what did you? I know you talked about the boots, but what did they have you doing? Like, was it the same training that firefighters go through when they're on the outside?
Yeah, they give you some minimum training, honestly, but they don't give you the certifications to back up that, to validate your experience. So once I came home, obviously I figured it all out and how to be able to maneuver. But yeah, you get that minimum training, and when you was up in there, you pretty much doing the same thing that a wildland firefighter would do, right?
Right.
So that's where, just gaining experience, understanding, the 10s and 18s, which we kind of use when you doing wildland firefighting, and understanding those fire line tactics on cutting lines. So you have a good plethora of skills and knowledge that you received in there, but it's like those other kind of things that to be able to become a professional, understand like the certifications you need, and really understand what you're really actually doing out there, which that's where our organization provide that wraparound services, give you the understand, because like the biggest thing about the fire service is culture, right? And understanding how to navigate and be a professional. Firefighting is a lifestyle. Right, it's not a 9 to 5.
Right.
And
yeah, because you can't predict like only have a fire between 9 and 5. That's
right. So the folks that come from our culture, right? Like they got to understand how So to be transparent, the fire service in California, at least, is dominated by white Caucasian men, right? And when you haven't been around too many of those folks in the culture and how they get down, you got to be able to conform, right? So it's those things around how to show up professionally in that space and show that you are knowledgeable, you understand how things work, and you not, a distraction. Because, obviously when you walk in a room, if you white, are you a woman or you a person of color, right? It's a whole different ballgame. You might be the one person of color in that station, right? So you got to be able to blend. Yeah, you got to blend in and know what's going on.
Oh man, I can't even imagine what that's like. So you come home and you have a felony. So now what are the restrictions when it comes to now going to get your certification when you have a felony? What do you have to do to be able to achieve that?
So to be honest with you, when I read the application, so it's different. It depends on the fire agency. Right?
Okay.
So the Forest Service, which you do pretty much a 2-week certification academy, where you get that and then you apply to the federal government, and they have kind of a more of a strict background, right? Now with the state, it's different. As long as you have certifications, they do their own little thing, right? But it's not as extensive as the federal government. So it's like it depends on what agency that you're trying to
okay. So so does it matter? Like I know you got a pardon from Governor Newsom on behalf of the state of California.
Shout out to my guy. Appreciate it. It's my guy.
You want him to be president one day.
Absolutely. Honestly, but so this issue is a bipartisan, right? Issue, and I appreciate both sides of the aisle have supported the organization on multiple different levels, but obviously hopefully things can kind of shape different, right? In the world today, and it's been something that I've been kind of nervous about talking a little bit because I got so much good support from both sides. But at the end of the day, I do appreciate him spearheading me obviously getting a pardon, but also with AB 2147, which that helps folks that's been formerly incarcerated in fire camp get their record expunged. And then also shout out to Scott Wiener for helping us get, $4 million to the state budget. So it's been some instrumental people that's been really pushing the envelope for us. But yeah, we hopefully we'll see 2028, right?
I mean, we can understand you having an allegiance though to Governor Newsom because that's where you got your pardon from. So I could see why anybody should be able to see that.
Right.
So even when you did, when you got employed, like you said, it's a lot of white males. How was that even trying? Yet another obstacle, because how was that as far as getting hired? Because I can imagine that might have been a really challenging and difficult time for you to be able to even have someplace say, okay, we would love to have him here.
One of the best things that I've done was go to college, and one of the classes that I took was called an interpersonal communication class. So it really gave me the landscape of understanding people and how people move and thought process and just like being able to communicate effectively. And when I went there, because it's nepotism, right? You got certain cultures. You have it's a little hazing in there, trying to see if you really about this life, right? And a lot of stuff correlate to the streets, to firefighting, actually, like, which I kind of have, I'll break it down when folks are in our career training program. And it really gave me the ability to understand that, folks that's not, the same as you, right? Mm-hmm. And being more open-minded and having a conversation, because I didn't talk to some of those folks and I'm like, dang, like you got a colder story than me. Like right. You came out of the trenches too.
And they have to be open-minded as well.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. And that's where that bridge and being able to show up and show like, you know what, I'm here to do my job. Also, I'm here to be able to be a team player and understand the culture. And once folks kind of like get you to that level, then they be like, you know what, okay, cool, this dude is, it's cool. And that's where we've been kind of like, teaching our folks is like, if you're the all person out, right? Like obviously you have to like, turn it on and turn it off, right? Mm-hmm. You have to. And that's just with anything you do in life, right? You can't just come, you have to show up professional and being able to, see people for not only just who you are, but just gain that respect. And once you gain that respect, then that's when all the other things come. So folks can be able to say, you know what, like I appreciate this person coming in and being about the culture and, being able to be professional and moving forward.
You've also credited Barack Obama's Leaders Program with helping you come up with some of these abilities and skills and ways to maneuver. Can you talk to me about that program and what that did for you?
Yeah, it was great. So definitely when it comes to like tough conversations and how to talk to the opposition, right? One other thing that was really important for me was advocating with decision makers, right? Like when you in a space where, because I'm a workforce development, criminal justice, and climate resilience kind of like nonprofit that we built, but I wasn't hip to advocacy, right? Mm-hmm. So that right there kind of gave me that understanding of like how do you maneuver in those areas when you're talking to assembly members, when you're talking to senators. And understanding how things move on the political side. So it was definitely those different pieces, and obviously networking and putting this in the room and like don't have that imposter syndrome, right? Like you should own your space and own, what you're doing because you are special. You have great, you can contribute to society in a way where, you solving a solution. So, shout out to my Obama Foundation folks. I'm actually going to LA as to the road to open, and I'm going to be doing a quick little 7-minute speech and talking about how great it was and the experience. And it just really gave me that power to understand my voice and what I can be able to really do, and just validated me as a person and also as a leader in this space.
I love that because sometimes we can have the best intentions, start an organization, but then to keep it going, you have to raise money. You do have to talk to these politicians. And like you said, advocacy is a whole nother field to be in. Mm-hmm. And so you can't be effective unless you're able to raise money and let people be aware of the program even existing. Mm-hmm. And like you said, 300 people. Right? You've already helped and trained.
Yes, absolutely. And we have a career training program, 8 weeks. The first 4 weeks comes with like certifications that they need in order for them to get an entry-level position with.
That's great. Agency. So this program gets you the certifications already. So that's one step. And
then also they get paid the stipend while they're there, right? They get financial literacy through our partnership with Chase. Mm-hmm. They also receive like life skills, mentorship. That's
amazing.
Helping with the application process and them understanding how to apply to these different fire agencies. And and I got a shout out to my director of social services, and she helps with all the other different, mental health, relapse prevention, conflict resolution, all those other different wraparound services that's important for us. Because, when folks come home from prison, folks have trauma, and being able to mentally prepare them to be from considered a public nuisance to a public servant, right? It's a whole different ballgame. It's not a job at Amazon, or it's not like a warehouse job, or, This is actually a family winning career where folks are making between 60 to 100K a year
Right.
with benefits from retirement. And that's where I think the life-changing piece when it comes to folks and men and women. So we got 2 women camps too. And we had graduated 16 women.
I don't know if I've ever come across a woman firefighter.
Oh yeah, we got them.
I think like in all my life, and I know they exist, but I have never ever seen one like personally.
Okay.
That's crazy, right?
You might have
I never thought about it.
You might have to come to LA or San Bernardino.
That's
area.
amazing though. I love
yeah.
that. Like I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine that culture is hard too because like you said, it's a very male dominated space. And so, you know, having to, even the adjustment you had to make as a black man, imagine being a woman also. Imagine being a black woman. Ooh, we already got it.
Right. It's tough. And I've been building a partnership with Cal Fire, and one of their second in command, her name is Chief Berlou, and she's been setting the tone around like, you know, women that have that leadership position. And, you know, it's really important to show diversity in the fire service and providing those opportunities. And women are slowly but surely making it happen. And we're excited about, you know, the women that we graduated are in our program and them thriving into the space too. So it's just being able to, you know, understand what they're getting themselves into and how to make move. And we just started a high school program, and I want to target student athletes.
Okay.
And when it comes to women, I think they, you know, coming out of high school, it's kind of like they're young, they're fresh, right? And they, you know, excited about, you know, the physical aspect. Because when, you know, obviously in sports, they have that already element. So that's one of the toughest things around that. And then obviously, you know, as they, you know, grow older, they might have a family and stuff. So that kind of like could be a thing. But we're trying to figure out multiple different ways and provide an opportunity for all people of color and folks that's in marginalized communities and even women.
Ironically enough, if you would have never made the mistake that you made at a young age, you wouldn't even have ever considered this as a profession. You would have never started this nonprofit.
Facts.
You have TED Talks. You would have never had a documentary about yourself. Like that is wild to think about because maybe sometimes you are the way that things unravel, because I'm sure when you were there first, you were like, how the hell did this happen? But then later on, when you look back, you have to think about like things happen for a reason to lead you to a certain path.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, fire camp was one of the best things that ever happened to me, even though I made some mistakes when I was younger. Now paying it forward was one of my biggest things. And when you talk about black women, that one black woman that inspired me to start the nonprofit with my co-founder is Harriet Tubman. You know, thinking about that analogy, right? When you see that folks are being incarcerated, right? And having this opportunity, but then bringing them to freedom so they can be able to thrive. And I just wanted the world to see that folks like me can go from being a public nuisance public servant and being able to go from incarceration into, you know, freedom and being able to have this career. And yeah, it's been crazy. It's just like this whole year since the LA fires, like, you know, the platforms I've been on and talking and building this thing up, it's just been it's amazing. And I'm just appreciative of like my family, my wife, my kids, my team, and all the people that have been supporting me since the beginning. And I know a lot of folks, you know, those late night, early mornings, and appreciating, you know, those talks and just, you know, folks and supporting that don't get that shine and that's shining through me in some way, shape, or form. So, but yeah, the Firebreak is our documentary that we got out. It's been in the film festival circuit, kind of like floating for the last like 9-10 months. It's been getting some good attention, and you know, excited about what the next moves are with certain people that be able to, you know, put it on the big stage, hopefully one day.
Listen, I can't wait to see it. I'm interested. And climate justice is one of the topics for that documentary as well. And that is such an important conversation because these wildfires and what's happening with our planet and climate change and all of that, these are really important things that I feel like have to be front and center as we're thinking about not just ourselves, but the future.
Right. And so our organization is in that intersection between workforce development, criminal justice reform, and the climate resiliency. And when you look at, you know, when you break it all down, we want people to be able to, you know, work, right, and contribute to society, because obviously we got to pay taxes, right? You got to keep this thing going. But then also with the criminal justice thing that people don't really understand is that rehabilitation and public safety goes hand in hand, right? So when folks are not committing crimes and they working, then that kind of pushed the whole public safety piece. And then the climate thing is like really a thing, right? When it comes to wildfires, I don't know if you know about California as much of the research you've done, but one of the issues is that it's called the wildland urban interface, is where a lot of folks are living in, and it's like their homes like close to this vegetation, right? And when a fire starts, like once the fire kind of does its own thing, and it's really wind-driven fires that really, dominate and put, things in harm's danger when it comes to like folks evacuating and homes getting burned up. Like you got all this fuel mixed with homes, and a lot of folks have this wood shingle roofs, right? So the embers come, preheats it to start going, and then next thing you know, fires is going crazy. And I don't know if you've seen that movie. I think The Last Bus. Actually was on that fire with Cal Fire. It was the campfire, and it just like it destroyed that whole town in the Palisades in 2018, and then now we're seeing it in LA, right, with the Palisades and the Eden fires. And give you a couple of stats: 31 fatalities. 18,000 homes, structures destroyed, and 58,000 acres burned combined with those two fires. And it was like 200,000 people were forced to evacuate.
Yeah,
and the economic loss is estimated to be as high as $135 billion.
That's wild.
Right?
That's great. My best friend lives in LA, and when that was how she had to evacuate, take her kids, they were in a motel. But people are also thinking about like, we have this priceless, and you're just happy to be alive. Right. But at the same time, you're thinking about like, this was my whole life. Like and it's I can't even imagine what that's like. That's, so we commend you for the work that you're doing. I was curious, when you came home, how was it for you to even have to tell people about like that you were? Because I know sometimes that's an issue when you first come home. It's hard at first for people to even have to come forward and say, well, I was incarcerated and here's what happened. Because I know people that are like, man, at first I was like kind of embarrassed. People judge you.
Yeah. It depends on who I was talking to,
Okay.
right? I did let some folks know, but then some folks I didn't let know. And I wanted my work to speak for itself. And but eventually I knew once we had received a $500,000 grant from the Board of State and Community Corrections when I was working for Cal Fire, and then Google.org matched it. And then my co-founder Brandon, he was like, look, we got $1 million, big dog. I need you to figure this out with me. Like, let's really make this movement. And I was like, oh, like I just have finished the academy with Cal Fire. Like I'm on, like I got my pension, I got, I got a good reputation in the field, and I was like, oh, I know once I say it, right, and I put myself out there to the world, it's like it's something that I can't take back, and I didn't even know how this was gonna work. So I literally sacrificed my career just to do this, because I just knew that one day that hopefully I would be on my deathbed, right, and when I see my family around and be like, not only I could be able to support them and do my thing for them, but also knowing that it's other people that I could affect long term in some way, shape, or form, and providing them that opportunity. So like that was a moment that I was like, what, that was like one of the hardest decisions I ever made in my life, and I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, we're glad you did.
And that courage to be able to do it, because it's tough. Like, because everybody's so people just think about themselves, but knowing that you have the power to influence. Provide people opportunity, and I think that's something that is very important to me, and that's one of the things I learned in the Obama Foundation leadership too, is being able to understand the importance of sacrifice, and even transcend the culture and race thing, and like know that you have the power to do things. You should just do it. So
I love that.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Royal Ramey, the Forestry and Fire Recruitment Program. Also, when you have the opportunity to see Firebreak, the documentary, make sure you check that out. Google his TED Talk. Make sure you check that out as well. I saw you also talking about, and I want to end it with this too, just how effective your program is. And they were talking about the recidivism rate.
Right.
And for people who are in your program, you said it was 10%. That low or lower?
Lower. So now it's like less than 7%. So it's like 6.5.
But what's the average outside of
So it's about 40% in California right now.
40% recidivism rate. But for people who were part of the forestry and fire recruitment program, it's less than 7%.
Yes.
That's a big deal. It just shows the type of leadership that you're instilling in people, the confidence. But like you said, the economic factor of it too. You have a job, you have the ability, you have your voice, but you have the skills to be able to do that and provide for your family.
Absolutely. And let me leave you with this. It costs $132,860 to house one person in California prison for, like, annually, right? Think about that number.
Wow.
Right? That's double as like I think a tuition for undergraduate, person going to USC. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when you think about college, right?
Right.
And you think about
and when they talk about,
folks,
we don't have the funds for that. Yes, you do. It actually would save money.
Right. It would.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
would. And the stat for us is that our data shows that we helped save the state of California about $24 million so far. So in doing this work, and I know we have a lot of opportunity to scale up and grow. And it's 13 other states that utilize incarcerated people to fight wildfires. And we want to be able to figure out ways to, go to other states eventually and help
and make
spread
sure
the
they
word.
get paid more too.
Absolutely.
Make sure they get paid for the work that they're doing. Well, thank you so much again. I appreciate you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.